My name is John, 27, and I am a technical advisor at a call center. I wouldn't say that I do. I'm not clinically, what's the best word? I'm not clinically diagnosed with any kind of depression, anxiety, or anything like that. I've had my spouts of depression, starting during my teen years. I would say around 16, 17 is when I felt like it was most prevalent. About 18 to 19, it got really bad. 19 was a really dark time. 19 to 20, I would say. And then anxiety. I would say anxiety is one of those things that I think everybody does feel personally. It's just how you deal with it on your day-to-day basis. For me, anxiety is one of those things where it feels like you have a knot in your chest and it feels like your heart's beating faster than it should for no apparent reason, and it usually happens whenever I'm about to go to sleep. Before bed is usually when it happens, and a good way for me to actually combat it in any way, shape, or form is hanging out with friends, listening to music. I listen to a lot of different kinds of metal. There's not just one genre, but there's multiple genres. Hip-hop, rap, pop, whatever. Music is one of those things that I think is a universal language for a lot of people. And it really helps with trying to deal with it because it doesn't make you feel like you're alone in the world as a whole. Depression, on the other hand, there have been thoughts of dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts. There's from the most basic idea of depression where everybody thinks it's all about sadness to where it's the most extreme to where you're in a slump for a couple of months on end and you don't want to deal with anybody. For me, dealing with those to get out of that headspace is to be around people that I, in all honesty, give a shit about and give a shit about me. There's always a need and want for assurance, but I don't ask for assurance. Talking about my issues and talking about what's been bothering me, whether it's something tiny like there's been a Coke can sitting on the table for 6 or 7 months or some shit, to something as small, something like that small, to something a little bit more major, to being more inclined to do something with an occupation or doing something as your occupation, like filmmaking, for instance, or doing something as a career. That's, I think, where things get a little bit more fuzzy in terms of how old you get and how you age and how you deal with those different types of things. The older you get, the more and more something is going to change. You're not going to be the same person as you were when you were, 10 years ago compared to now. Your thoughts change, your thought process changes, the way you deal with things change. Even if it is slightly, it changes from smoking a pack and a half of cigarettes a day to, smoking weed every single day to try to medicate yourself and get over whatever it is that's bothering you, to becoming a pseudo-alcoholic to where you're drinking socially to pass it off as not becoming an alcoholic because you're not doing it alone. And I've dealt with and I've done with all of those every single for a solid 5 years of my life before now. And I feel like people in today's day and age need to talk about their mental illness and talk about the issues that they have instead of bottling it up and letting it bother you up into a point where you're going to either explode with either rage, anger, or anything like that. There's instances in my life, just like Michael had said and just like Austin had said, where there could be triggers, there could be not. It could be something simple like driving through traffic and someone cuts you off. Like Michael said, it could be something as similar as Austin said, where you're just kind of sitting here by yourself. I don't like being by myself a lot of the time. I've never really liked being by myself. It's kind of one of those things where I don't have a want or a need to be in my own area alone, unless I need to do something. Other times I can be by myself. It's not really a chosen thing, but if I have to be alone, a lot of the time it's just boredom that kind of gets to me than a depressive episode or an anxious episode or something like that. Even there's times where I feel like there is some sort of part of me that feels like I do have a bipolar disorder, but then there's people like me who can't afford to go to the doctor and go talk about my issues and deal with this or that every single day or every time that I have a chance. And with that being said, there are free ways for you to try to look up what's going on. You can go on the internet and you can look to see if you have any kind of problems, if your symptoms equate to something that is going on the internet. Talking to other people who kind of feel the same way, talking to your friends about these kinds of issues really does take a load off of your chest. And when something is bothering you, you need to say what it is. Whether it's the most minuscule, petty bullshit thing to the most extreme, to where you feel like you would feel better after you say something. I feel like there is a taboo only because some people use it as a crutch, meaning that they try to use it for attention and they scream it off the mountaintops that they have these problems and they throw it on social media. I feel like social media is a big factor for why a lot more people have a depressive episode, why they have anxiety, why they're fishing for somebody to assure them that they're better than the other person that is one of their peers. Depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, all of those mental illnesses can all factor in, and they can all kind of stem from either one thing or multiple things. But on top of that, you also have to make a conscious effort to try to fix the issue that you're having. If you are clinically diagnosed with those kinds of problems, then you should try to focus on getting those fixed. If you're not, like myself, I'm not clinically diagnosed, but there's always been a feeling like something is wrong. And usually for me, just a good therapy session with friends is something that helps, and that taboo goes away whenever you talk to other people who have that issue.